What's good, people? Welcome to Pros Only Sports and welcome back to another episode of United State of Mind. You're here with myself, Roland. We got a lot to talk about yesterday's game between Chelsea and United. It finished 1-0 at Stamford Bridge in the evening game that kicked off at 5:30 yesterday. A lot to unpack. We're going to get into it in a little bit, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new, hit that notification bell, hit the like button as well. Make sure you follow the socials at the bottom of the screen too. So yeah, let's begin, man. United obviously drawing 1-1 with Chelsea. I mean, let's just talk about the game in bits and pieces. I mean, United pretty much dominated the game in the first 35 minutes until Chelsea made a tactical change by going from a three at the back to the four at the back and bringing an extra man in midfield. For United, there was good possession, patient build-up play, which is always something that you want to see in a possession-based side. We're not forcing opportunities. You know what I'm saying? We're waiting for the opportunities to play the right balls as opposed to forcing the opportunities, which we have been doing. Under previous regimes when we're like kind of more of a counter-attacking team. We had some big chances in that first half. I mean, Luke Shaw had that one when he was running down the left. He comes inside, takes a shot, and it goes wide. And he should do better. He should at least get it on target with like the space opening up for him. Then obviously you had Rashford, who was put through by, I believe it was Bruno, with the little nice little through ball. I think this touch wasn't that great, and then it kind of like, it was maybe it took the chance away from him a bit, and he just kind of hits Kepa. And then you have Anthony like right towards the end of that first half as well. He gets put through, and he has to score that. Like there's only a little bit of the goal for him to aim at past Kepa. But he at least has to get on target, force a save, something like, Kepa will probably have to stick a leg out to try and just get away from the area of the goal. But those are some big chances that if we had taken those in that game, we would have said, okay, well deserved first half for United to get their goal. And it was just something that, you were just kind of like, if we got a goal here, it would really solidify a really great first half performance, because Chelsea really were non-existent for 35 minutes. And then they make their change. They get a bit more back, they try and wrestle a grip into the game again, which they do a little bit. A couple of chances, I believe, for Aubameyang as well in that first half for Chelsea. But it is what it is. I mean, we should have put at least one of those big chances away, and we didn't. But I would say off of that first 35 minutes, you can just tell that United are forming an identity under Erik ten Hag. I mean, like it's becoming a lot more recognizable game by game. So we're pressing and counter pressing. We're patient in the build-up play, as I mentioned earlier. We're not forcing those opportunities. If the opportunity is not there to play that pass or that through ball or something like that, you recycle the possession. You go to the other side and try and find an opportunity through the other flank, for example. We're playing out from the back a lot more confidently, and I think that was something that a lot of people were saying United would struggle with, let's say, De Gea at the back. But obviously, with the partnership forming between Varane, which was unfortunate for his injury, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, and how that's going to impact the team. And then Martinez, obviously, doing his job, he steps forward confidently with the ball and he plays it forward, and that's a part of that build up from the back that we've been trying to embed. And you could at times whenever a manager comes in and tries to do that for a team, they usually struggle with it. And it seems like he's been able to embed it in fairly quickly without it being too much of an issue. And I'm not saying that somebody won't make a mistake in future. It will probably happen if you're not concentrated or you don't make the right pass or whatnot, or somebody's pressing you and you get a rush decision and you make a mistake. But at least we're trying to do that, and that is a positive there. The fullbacks they're over and underlapping as well, and that's great to see. That we fullback play is important. It's imperative in today's game, especially with the emergence of inverted wingers and stuff like that. So the fact that our fullbacks and surprisingly probably for both of them, in terms of United fans and the way they felt about both of those players, to see what they're doing now is amazing to see. Like they've always had it in them. It's just they need the right managers to kind of unlock that, and the right tactics and system and whatnot to unlock that. And it's actually happening. It's holding true. So, it's a great thing to see that as well. But we lack goals. You know what I'm saying? I think we've got 16 in the Premier League so far this season. It's not a lot of goals, man. We need goals. We lack that. We're lacking that focal point up front. Somebody that can play back to goal, who can hold the ball up and then bring others into play, which I think would be perfect in this system. It wouldn't force, like, let's say Bruno at times he's trying to force that pass. I've seen him rein it in a little bit, but he still did it a few times yesterday where he's trying to find Rashford, through one of those channels because Rashford can't play back to goal. And so, like having him there, Rashford up front, it kind of only means you have to play the ball into space. And that can be difficult if you're playing against a team that plays with that low block. Chelsea would step up as well because they're not going to concede that space. They'll step up as well. Oh, sorry, no, they will concede that space. And so they can be susceptible to that. But, it's just about making sure that ball is pinpoint all the time. And it's difficult to do that all the time. You'll get an opportunity or a few in a game, but you're not going to get them all the time in the game. So, it's pretty interesting from that perspective as well. And so hopefully, something changes, in the January window or in the summer, depending on the desperation for it, to bring in somebody that can play back to goal. Martial's injury problems have been well documented, and I don't know if he's going to be able to muster the strength to be able to overcome these injuries. I'm not saying it's impossible, but he seems to get a lot of muscular injuries, and muscular breakdown kind of leads to two things. It's strength and conditioning and nutrition, and he needs to get those things right, as well as trying to avoid contact as much as you can in a game as well, because that could also cause a problem. So like it's something that needs to kind of change, because we need goals and we need somebody that can also fit the style, kind of finish that finishing piece up front would be perfect. But it is what it is. Ten Hag has to work with what he's got right now, and that's all he can really do. We were just hoping that we could have gotten that win with that goal yesterday if one of those guys actually put the ball away. But in the second half now, Chelsea get back into the game. They're trying to wrestle a bit more of a, but they didn't really create too much, to be honest with you. Like 2 shots on target for them. So it's like they had a bit more possession in the game. They had a bit more of a foot in the midfield, but they weren't really troubling us too difficult. I can't really remember too many saves that they had to really make. But United lose their way a little bit because they can't hold the ball up. You know what I'm saying? So like you can't hold the ball up. You can't even slow down the play. You can't even be patient, because in one sort of like element of some of the players' minds is they still kind of thinking like counter attack. We're away from home. We need to be fast on the breaks to try and get an opportunity to score. And so you lose your way in big games, especially if you're just trying to find that final pass, like from 30, 40, 50 yards back, upfield. Like you will lose the ball and the ball will come back towards you. So like, we lose our way. And I think at that point, just before then, I think we lose Varane to injury, like I think, they were kind of caught out. I think the fullback was kind of caught out. So he comes across. So I think it was Dalot who was caught upfield. Varane comes across to try and stop Sterling from getting past him, or Aubameyang, I can't remember. But and he overstretches, does his it looks like he's done his hamstring somehow, some way. He was visibly distraught, didn't really want to come off the pitch, like type of thing, but he had to, obviously not just for United, but obviously with the World Cup looming large, in literally 3 weeks' time, like he was visibly distraught. He was very angry. He was sobbing, stuff like that. And it's just like, it's sad to see this happen, because he's forming a great partnership with Martinez, but ultimately, he's lost. We're going to lose him to injury, and obviously I think we've got a capable understudy in Victor Lindelof that can take his position in terms of what he brings in terms of similarities. But it's frustrating to lose Varane, and hopefully he gets better soon. Hopefully it's not as bad as maybe first feared, and he could potentially be ready to maybe get to the World Cup. Let's see. But I think at that point, as we've lost our way in the game, Ten Hag makes his subs. He brings on Fred, McTominay, and Elanga. And I think he seemed content with the point, and bearing in mind, like in the 30 years of the Premier League, United haven't had the best record against Chelsea, just generally. Like, even in the 90s, before the money came into their club, they used to beat United a lot. Like, so, especially going to the Bridge, like there was times where like, I think we went like maybe 13 years without getting a result at the Bridge. I think I can't remember the last time we won there, but that at that point, that 13 years, like I remember we beat them 3-0 in 2000 or something like that. Or no, is it 2000 or 2010? Is it 13 years? It might be longer than that. But anyway, yeah, like, and then we beat them in 2013. Yeah, so yeah. So yeah, I think 13 years. So yeah, so I think beat them 3-0 in 2000, and in 2013, we beat them again. And all that time we go to the Bridge with there's draws and there's defeats. But that was the game. I remember Chicharito getting that winner. We won 3-2 there. So it's like, we don't really get a lot of change out of Chelsea at the Bridge. And so to get a draw from there, you will take it. As a Man United manager, knowing the history, if you've gone into it deep enough, you will know that a point is good enough. So he makes his substitutions, and what that does is it just kind of, removes some of the invention, removes some of the forward passing, and just kind of solidifies our midfield with Fred and McTominay in there alongside Casemiro. So, Ten Hag seemed content with the point. You take the point because you've lost your way. You've not had many. You haven't had your chance output has gone down in the second half as opposed to what it was in the first half, and the ball's not sticking up front. So you might as well just kind of put in a bit of a workman like final 20 minutes to just make sure you get the draw in, and you do what you need to do. And then Scott McTominay drags down Broja in the box when the corner comes in. VAR. I don't even think they even needed to defer to VAR for it. They gave the penalty because it's just so bait. Like, come on, man. The ball's coming in. There's sufficient amount of cover. He's not really going to win the ball. If he does, the angle at which he was running to even like head the ball, for example, like his body was facing kind of away from the play. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? So he's not going to get that. If anything, is going to be a knock on. So for you to drag him down in the manner in which you did, like only a few minutes after coming on by the way, like it's just mad. Like, and you can't, as a manager, you can't mitigate for that. I've taken the point. I'm content with it. I've put my players onto the field of play, and then my midfielder drags down somebody in the box and gives away a penalty. Jorginho scores the penalty, and at this point it's 1-0. You feel like basically we've kind of lost. We've lost this game after putting in a decent performance away from home against one of our rivals, essentially. And you've given it away because of a stupid mistake. And it's like, this is why he's probably not. He's going to be a good squad member, and I feel like Ten Hag has made that apparent now. Like, he's not my first choice midfielder. If anything, Casemiro's up to speed, and Eriksen will be the pivot. Fred will come on, and you will come on at points, and that's how it's supposed to be. But when you're doing stuff like this, it don't bode well. Getting suspended so early on in the season with the 5 bookings, it doesn't bode so well, does it? But we'll have to wait and see how that develops over time. But then we got up the other end a few moments later, like maybe 4 or 5 minutes later, because it was 6 minutes of injury time. And then, Luke Shaw with a great cross, and, Scott McTominay was up front. He was in the box, but Casemiro was right in front of him, and he puts the header in. It goes over the line. Kepa kind of drags it back out as if it didn't go over the line, but the goal line technology gives the goal. And United fans go crazy behind that goal. And it's like, we've salvaged that point. Casemiro it was a great header. It was a great cross from Luke Shaw as well. Like, and we'll speak about Luke Shaw and, how he's emerged again as the first choice left back and all the stuff that goes behind that. But, at the end of the day with 1-1, it's a fair result. It's a fair result, but United will be kicking themselves because they would have felt like they should have won with some of those missed opportunities in the first half specifically. And it is what it is, but a draw, I'll take it at Stamford Bridge with our record against Chelsea, just generally, period. Like, in the 30 years of the Premier League, not being great, they're the team that's probably beaten us the most out of everybody, like, that we've ever played in the Premier League. I'll take a draw at the Bridge. You live to fight another day. At least you didn't lose. And we know that this season is not necessarily about results. It's more about embedding the style of play, making Manchester United recognizable on the eye to anybody. And if that means you could potentially win a trophy with that, I'll take that for a good season, man. Honestly. But let's just move into some of these standouts within the game. I mean, Casemiro, you got to shout him out, man. Like, he's been really good as he's started to, get a feel for the Premier League. It's quick. Like, he's not the most mobile, but he seems to be using his intelligence, so he's in the right positions at certain points to intercept, to break up play. And it's somebody that we probably needed a few years ago, and obviously at that point he was going to be untenable. We were never going to be able to grab him at his height at Real Madrid type of thing. And even last season, it was great last season for Real Madrid. But to have him now at 30 years old still is good. Like, he's still prime years, so like you're going to get the best out of him, right? Like, for the next couple of years at least. And so now he seems more embedded in the Premier League. I feel like because we have this possession-based style, we're not leaving him in vulnerable moments where he's having to chase and cover and all of this type of stuff. No, we have most of the ball. We impose ourselves on the team that we're playing against. And so he's going to have the easier job of just breaking up play if we lose it. So he just has to be intelligent about where he positions himself on the pitch. So that's great. I mean, and obviously getting his goal as well just caps off a great performance for himself. It's a 9 out of 10. You'd say he did everything that he needs to do right. He didn't really make too many mistakes, and he gets a goal at the end of it to top it all off. It's a 9 out of 10 for him. Um, Luke Shaw, like his emergence, man, like, obviously Malassia has had a great start, but then obviously he's kind of lost his way. He's young, so it's going to happen. Luke Shaw has come through, he's emerging a bit again. Can he stay fit? That's the question mark I have on him. Can he be professional? That's another question mark I have on him. Don't get comfortable thinking that because, you're in the side now, you've got an assist here, you've been playing well, that all of a sudden, you're going to be the number one. No. I think Ten Hag has already let that not be known across the whole squad because everybody has to play for their lives now. But, it's boding well for Luke Shaw. I think, was he 26, 27 years old now? Let me just double check that real quick. But yeah, 26, 27. I feel like he needs to continue to keep this up. He gets the assist for the Casemiro goal yesterday, and I think it's great to see. He's really I don't think the ability has been in question. It's always been the attitude and the professionalism for me. But the ability wise, like, he can do everything that you need in a modern day fullback. He just needs the fitness, and he needs the fitness and the robustness in terms of going through 60 game seasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, roughly, you know what I'm saying? So unless he can show me that on a consistent basis, 2-3 years time, like, to be able to do that, then there's always going to be question marks on him. Like, but right now it's boding well. And then obviously Martinez, man, like Lisandro Martinez has been a bit of a revelation since the debut. That was a bit of a baptism of fire in the Premier League, but I don't think it was his fault. It was who he was next to. There's no one talking about his height anymore. Like, all of it's gone quiet. All those pundits that were talking about this, all the rival fans that were talking about it, it's all gone quiet. He's stepping forward at points, basically being the deep line playmaker, making those crisp passes into the forward or the final third of the pitch. And he's just an all around tough guy. Yesterday he was in the face of Mason Mount, and this is what you kind of want to see from your defenders. I mean, Argentinians, they're pretty hot-headed. We've seen them across the course of the football that you've watched, and he's another one of them along that production line. And yeah, man, I'm just glad to see a centre half that's just nuts. You know what I'm saying? He's nuts. He tackles hard. Like, I saw there was a tackle that he did on Sterling, went in both feet, kind of like scissored him a little bit. It wasn't like intentional or anything like that. It was more just to say, I'm here, don't worry about me. I'm here. Like, and I just want to see more of him, man. Like, it's just unfortunate that partnership with him and Varane is gonna go now. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm just hoping that, Lindelof comes in capable understudy. Hopefully that injury for Varane is not too bad, and they can continue, to form that partnership. But he's really done well since that baptism of fire against Brentford earlier on in the season. And then we'll just touch on just how the group have done so well over the last 10 games or so, like, since that defeat to Brentford. I think the majority of the start 11 are there. Like, I think 8 of them are still in the side, which is for me is great to see. Like, if you've got all of them together, like, it's like the fact that they were able to bounce back from that defeat, and all of them have come back and have tried to work harder to make sure that they get this right. That's testament to Ten Hag and the coaching staff. Keeping everybody level-headed. Nobody's fighting with each other like that. We've got squad harmony, and even in a defeat like that, or the one against City, for example, where it's a bad day at the office, every other performance have been professional, workmanlike, and we've just been building on top of every single performance with better performances in the next game. And it's great to see that the team is doing so well. Just generally, we're building something. Generally, building something. Finally, in terms of an identity on the pitch, and off of it, like, Ten Hag has got the house in order. Do you know what I'm saying? And I won't touch too much on the Ronaldo situation because we're probably going to have a little bit of a discourse about that in another podcast type episode shortly. So we'll talk about that. But the way he's been able to keep his house in order, and nobody's really penetrating from outside, like building that fortress that we had once under Fergie. He's trying to build something similar to that again, I think some of the best teams in the world have that essentially. You know, you can't penetrate that fortress, then no, we can't lose. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I mean, you know, it's a fair result. United should have won, but you know, we got to keep it at that. But yeah, people, this has been another episode of United State of Mind. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below. United are back on Thursday, Europa League against Sheriff, I believe it is. Should be a good game. Hopefully, United can win that and they qualify for the next round of the Europa League, and hopefully not in that playoff in the last 32 where they play the Champions League teams that drop down, but hopefully in the last 16 when it returns again in February. I believe it will be February anyway. But yeah, we'll be back with another episode. Potentially might be a little bit surprising the year soon as well. But make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you're new, hit the notification bell because we're going live across Pros Only Sports as well. You know, obviously World Cup's coming up. NBA is back in full effect, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Follow the socials down there at the bottom. And we out, people. Peace.